Good morning, happy Canada Day, and welcome to this special edition of Your Morning.
We have lots of Canadian-focused content today and some tips to help you rule the summer.
In our first half hour, we are highlighting how Canada is fighting to better harness its own resources in the face of American trade pressure.
Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew is pulling the plug on electricity exports to the United States. The province announcing they will not renew contracts that would send 500 megawatts of power south of the border. Instead, it's going to be redirected to other parts of Canada. Joining us with more this morning is Tricia Stadnik, professor and Canada Research Chair at the Schulich School of Engineering at the University of Calgary. Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, why is Manitoba choosing not to renew these contracts? What's the reason they've given?
So that decision was actually made before the recent geopolitical tensions. That said, I think it sends a really strong message to the U.S. at this time, and it's pretty timely. The reason why this decision is being made is actually related to climate change and changing precipitation patterns, and the fact that Manitoba is looking at potentially not being able to meet their winter load capacities as early as 2029 with their current infrastructure. So it's an effort to redirect resources and make sure that we have enough domestically to meet our own needs before we start exporting to the U.S.
Just following up on that, Tricia, if it's for environmental reasons, they're still distributing the power. They're just not distributing it south of the border. My understanding is Premier Kinew saying that they're going to use them to light up the north, light up Western Canada, and build trade corridors.
Absolutely. So of the 500 megawatts that is being re-deferred or redirected under this these two current contracts that are expiring, 50 megawatts will be sent north to communities in Nunavut along western shores of Hudson Bay. And another 450 will be available for domestic redeployment, however that looks. I think the intent is to strike agreements that not only meet Manitoba's domestic or internal needs, but that also allow the flexibility to be able to continue to export power and make profit on that.
In the province of Ontario, when Premier Doug Ford imposed tariffs on electricity exports to the U.S., that drew some strong reaction from Washington. So how are U.S. officials responding to this decision so far? And do you expect it to have some part of the conversation when Prime Minister Carney and President Trump meet within this week?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can't say whether or not it will be part of the conversation that's happening this week, but I do expect that the U.S. president and the U.S. as a whole will notice this for two reasons. Number one, it actually affects the executive order Unleashing American Energy, in the sense that that executive order was intended to lower costs and secure more energy for the U.S. And obviously, the cancellation of these two agreements is going against that order. So this is definitely going to flag some attention. The off-spin of that is particularly for people that were reliant on this 500 megawatts of generation in the U.S. Power rates, at least in the short term, will probably go up. And so this is one more thing that's adding to the additional costs for the American public.
Just a really quick question, Trish. When we talk about 500 watts, what does that power? What will they lose by not having this contract renewed?
That's a great question. If you were anywhere else in the world, it would power quite a few homes, up to 250,000 homes here in Canada because of our increased energy needs because of the cold weather and then hot summers. It's about estimated to be around 100,000 homes on average.
Still a lot of homes. In terms of dollars and cents, how much does Manitoba stand to lose or to gain by not renewing these contracts with the U.S.?
That's a really tough question to answer, because the idea is that they're not necessarily net losing. They would gain additional contracts with export to other provinces in Canada, and none of it. And this fits with some larger infrastructure strategies, not only from our federal government in terms of offsetting greenhouse gas emissions and finding more renewable sources of energy long term. So there's federal investments there that are happening, not only in the province of Manitoba, but in green energy in general. But there's also profit to be gained by helping Saskatchewan, neighboring Saskatchewan, reduce their reliance on coal fire. And right now, Saskatchewan is looking at having to increase their energy needs. It's looking at $1.4 to $1.7 billion to build the next coal-fired plant. So this would offset those costs, and I think Saskatchewan would be willing to pay to invest in an expanded hydropower intertie line.
Tricia Stadnik with the University of Calgary. We always appreciate the clarity that you bring to these topics. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Coming up, the sneaky travel trend, what it is and why it's gaining steam. Lauren Christie has more next.
Have you ever heard of the sneaky trip travel trend? I love this. This is a concept also known as a hush vacation or an impulse getaway. It really is gaining momentum thanks to an increase in travel following the pandemic. It's also, I'm going to say, a push for privacy, ditching social media, staying truly in the moment without posting for other people to see. Let's figure out how this works. We've got travel journalist Lauren Christie with us this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I love this concept. We were talking about it a little bit earlier. For those that are unfamiliar, what is a sneaky trip? What boxes do you have to check?
There's a few little boxes. Well, first of all, it should be a shorter trip, so usually 3 to 4 days. Don't share any details in advance. The big key one is don't post on social media. And I will put a little caveat to that. I think earlier you actually even showed TikTok viral influencer Daniel Bennett. And he was talking about how important the Euro sneaky trip is with a certain age group. And one of the things that he said is you can post on social media, but not until you get home. It has to be when you get home. And his recommendation was to have an adult beverage in your hand and just do 1 or 2 photos.
Totally.
And no itinerary, because you just don't want to be overplanned.
And especially when it's 3 or 4 days. I mean,
Correct.
Day 1 is travel too, and then day 4 is travel as well.
Exactly.
So why do you think this is a growing trend? Because if you think about it, like pre-social media, every trip was a sneaky trip.
Yeah,
So
and now I just think the difference is that people are getting tired of the expectation of I have to do this and I should be seen to be doing this and share it with my followers. Like, it's so much nicer for people to just go away and live in the moment, be with the people that you're with, and not worry about who is at home liking what you're doing. Like, it's a little bit, it's relieving when you're trying to go on a trip like
freeing,
that.
Isn't
Freeing,
it?
that's the word.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so I know that you just got back from Europe. I saw some of it on Instagram, but you did have a sneaky component.
I did.
That you did not post.
Correct.
But we are going to talk about it right now, right?
Right. So this is my post. So I ended up in a weekend in Paris. I got to tell you, it was hard for me because I'm one of those posters that posts while I'm there. But Paris was a great place to do it. You can walk places without having to plan a bunch of stuff. I mean, sure, you can go and plan the heck out of that trip, but you can also plan nothing and go, which is easy. And what I also love, just as a tip for Canadians, is that with the rerouting of flights from a lot to the US to Europe now, WestJet, for example, you can get to Paris direct from Calgary, from Halifax, from St. John's, Barcelona, where I know you went for a sneaky trip, Calgary, Halifax. So there's a lot more options for a quick Euro sneaky trip.
Oh, I love that. Okay, speaking of options, if somebody does want to take a sneaky trip, where do you recommend they go?
I think a good place if you don't want to do a Euro one is maybe Bermuda. I love Bermuda. There are direct flights on Air Canada and Bermuda Air from Montreal, Toronto, Halifax, and it's such a small, easy country to get around.
How pretty it is, too.
And it's pretty, and there's so many free, easy things to do. The beaches mostly are public access and gorgeous and free. There's a railway traverse you can do across the island, free, no reservations required. St. George's, the town, or St. George, the town, sorry, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Free, you can walk around, it's beautiful. So there's so many things that don't require pre-planning and things that you can just show up and do. And one thing, my favorite one is on Friday nights, they have what's called the Uber Vita boat cruise, leaving from Hamilton. It's a complimentary boat cruise, no reservations, you just line up and go, costs nothing. You go on this beautiful tour of Hamilton Harbor. And they just make their money from the bar drinks. So you just, the cocktail, the bar is a cash bar and you just do it.
So smart.
And if you can't get on, you just wait for the next one because there is no reservations. You just line up and go. So
How
it's easy.
fantastic. Okay, so that's easy for people who are on the eastern part of this country, living in the eastern part. But for those in the western section of this country, what do you recommend?
I would go Dawson City, and I know that's a little bit of a hike, but it is a pretty cool, sneaky thing to say that you went up and then come back and say that you were there. MasterCard Economic Institute just released a travel report that said it's one of the fastest growing destinations in Canada, and largely that's fueled from people from BC. So people on the West Coast are going up. It's part of a Parks Canada National Historic Site. There's so many things to do. I would recommend that, remember about the adult beverage in your picture when you get home?
Right.
The sour toe cocktail at the Sourdough Saloon. And I think you've probably heard about this, but it's that shot of Yukon Jack with the mummified toe. And as they say, you can drink it fast, you can drink it slow, but your lips must touch the toe.
Oh, that's so funny. Ah, fantastic. And look at this. I mean, here is some inspiration. All right, any final sneaky trip tips?
I do have one, and I'm going to go against the purists. You know, Daniel Bennett, who you showed earlier, the TikTok guy, was saying that you don't tell anybody that you're doing it. That makes me a little nervous. I always say, if you're going to go away on a trip, especially if you're overseas, you got to tell at least one person. Speaking from a guy who went overseas without telling his parents when I was a teenager, I did tell my brother that I was going to South America for a week, just in case something happened. So I would recommend doing that.
Tell your mom, because she will find you.
Or that.
Lauren Christie, this is great. Thanks so much for being here today. Appreciate it.
Ahead on your morning, getting our oil to new markets. Is it possible to detach our product from the United States? The global search for critical minerals is ramping up, and in Nova Scotia, the province has now lifted a decades-old ban on uranium exploration. So the province is hoping to find uranium and other critical minerals in these three key regions here. The aim is to find minerals that will help with Canada's clean energy transition and boost the economy. For more this morning, I'm joined by Garth Kirkham. He's a geoscientist and co-chair of the Mineral Resource Mineral Reserve Committee with the Canadian Institute of Mining. You're joining us from Vancouver this morning. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Listen, we know there's been a global push for critical minerals mining, but why is uranium exploration important?
Well, for our green future, really it's critical from the perspective that it is one of the key components for power generation, for clean power, and also for things like medical devices. But really, to get us to net zero, we have to have the energy mix, which includes uranium for nuclear reactors.
Uranium exploration is under the jurisdiction of the provinces, but to get an actual mining project approved, for that you need to go to the feds. So what does it take to have a mining project approved?
Years of, in the not too recent past, years of permitting and regulatory hurdles and environmental assessments, sometimes overlapping each other. So with the climate that we're in now, the public sentiment has changed very quickly, and also government's willingness to move forward with large projects like mining projects and to secure our mineral endowment so that we're not reliant on other nations or other nations aren't trying to take us over kind of thing. So having that secure supply of our own is critical to our future, and Canada's endowment in all minerals is very very broad, and every province has its opportunities. So, in Nova Scotia, there are, exploration for uranium has been banned over the years, and it was mostly from the in the 80s, 3 Mile Island, and issues with protests against nuclear weapons and that kind of thing. So now Saskatchewan has shown that we can do this safely and do it sustainably, and Nova Scotia has a great wealth of minerals. There is a history of legacy mining in Nova Scotia, that there's legacy sites that need to be addressed. So mining does have a bit of a black eye in certain provinces where that is the case. However, those areas are areas of opportunity where you can go in and you can actually remine the waste and deal with it in a sustainable way.
You touched on them briefly, but Nova Scotia had a moratorium on uranium mining since the 80s, so like around 45 years, and then an outright ban since around the last 15 years.
Yes.
You touched briefly on some of the concerns. There were also some serious health concerns as well. So what has changed since then?
Well, safety is one, and public perception. When movies come out that really make it look probably more of a risk than it might be. The reaction is to have no risk, which is to have a complete ban. British Columbia did the same thing, where there's been a ban on since I think the 1990s. And the thinking back then was it's a safety thing, plus we want to be a nuclear-free zone, which is very aspirational. But for uranium exploration, particularly for what is being recommended in Nova Scotia, it's not going and mining nuclear or plutonium or nuclear grade weapons grade material. It's for power generation, and it's and the other thing is that Exploration is benign. It's not, you're not releasing uranium into the environment. You're not actually, and it's only when it's concentrated when it's a health issue. So.
Garth Kirkham, geoscientist and co-chair of Mineral Reserve Committee with the Canadian Institute of Mining. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate you joining us from BC.
Thank you very much.
So oil is Canada's most lucrative commodity. In 2023, crude exports added more than $120 billion to our economy, but almost all of those exports went to the U.S. It's an arrangement that worked fine until this trade war started. So now there are growing conversations about whether we should move forward with new pipeline projects to tap into other markets. As part of our series that looks at how Canada can decouple itself from the U.S. and become more self-sufficient, one of our producers, Michael Hiscock, looks at what it would take to make those scenarios a reality.
Canada is one of the biggest oil producers in the world, but that supply is vulnerable in two main ways. The first way is related to imports. About 73% of our domestic demand is filled by what we pull directly from the ground. But New Brunswick, Ontario, and Quebec import more than other provinces. That's because even though we have more than enough oil to satisfy all of our needs, we have trouble transporting it across such a large country. That's where our second vulnerability comes into play: pipelines. Right now, we have only one that funnels crude from the oil sands in Alberta to eastern Canada. It's known as Enbridge Mainline, and it starts in Edmonton. From there, it flows south to Gretna, Manitoba. That's where it crosses the US border, passing through 4 states before arriving back in Ontario in Sarnia. A second portion of the line splits off, going deeper into the United States, while back in Ontario, the pipeline extends until it terminates in Montreal.
Much of the reason that we've built so much of our pipeline infrastructure into the United States is because it's cheaper and because it's easier typically to actually get cross-border approvals than cross-provincial approvals.
Oil market researcher Rory Johnston has been hoping to see more pipelines built for years.
Our market access outside the United States is extremely limited, but I do think having additional pipeline access, whether it's further pipelines to the West Coast, whether it's Northern Gateway or further expansions of the Trans Mountain expansion or Trans Mountain system, or something like Energy East, that is not necessarily entirely about maximizing those routes or those sources of egress, but it's about providing optionality so that when we do, say, have a tariff that we're facing, we have better options.
First proposed in 2013, the Energy East pipeline would have connected Canada's largest refinery in St. John, New Brunswick, to a terminal directly in the oil sands. Northern Gateway and Keystone XL would have also provided pathways to bolster our oil exports, but all 3 of these pipelines failed, largely for the same sets of reasons.
Please stay calm. Please stay calm. Reinforcing the BC Supreme Court injunction issued December 31st, 2019.
On February 6, 2020, 6 people were arrested over an impasse involving construction of the Coastal GasLink pipeline in BC. It was proposed to run through 190 kilometers of Wet'suwet'en territory. While the pipeline received the approval of 5 of 6 band councils of the nation, its hereditary chiefs opposed the project and protesters blocked access to a construction site. In all, nearly 100 people were arrested in relation to the project.
Instead of trying to partner with local First Nations and create something that addresses their concerns, we instead think that the way we can go ahead and get a project processed is instead by essentially trying to fast track it. That pipeline in 30, 40 years might start rusting in a way that starts causing issues. We won't remember that. The local community, when they start dealing with that in their drinking water, will. There's a lot of ways to set this up for success by making sure the community is able to feed into these projects. We're going to make sure you have anything from business opportunities, employment, some kind of revenue or financial sharing, and then also environmental provisions. One thing I will highlight is it also does a good job of undoing some of the damage that's been done by more than 100 years of projects going without consent.
So you're saying when done correctly, the building of energy projects could actually further reconciliation efforts?
Absolutely.
That's a big opportunity for Ottawa, which now seems to have renewed interest in building an all-in-Canada pipeline.
Today, I'm announcing a comprehensive new approach to make Canada the world's leading energy superpower.
And we'll use that money to build infrastructure that are needed in Canada. For example, to build a pipeline for natural gas from Alberta to Quebec.
People are talking about a pipeline, but to the best of my knowledge, no company has yet said they would like to build one.
Keith Brooks, Program Director at Environmental Defense, didn't mince words when asked about his stance.
I don't think there's any case for adding a new pipeline. There's not increasing demand for Canadian oil out there. In fact, there's a glut of oil out there right now as the U.S. is trying to ramp up production. OPEC is trying to ramp up production. Meanwhile, there's threats of a recession as a result of the trade war, and so demand is actually going down.
I think while it is important to begin to diversify our market access and optionality for different markets, inevitably we're never going to fully divorce ourselves from the need for the U.S. market. It's too big. The refineries are perfectly geared for this type of crude because those industries really co-evolve together over decades. While Trump has repeatedly and falsely said that they do not need our oil or anyone else's oil because the U.S. has grown so much of its own production, they cannot displace Canadian oil needs in their system. They are going to need our crude for the foreseeable future.
Just ahead, what's in store for the empty retail space the Bay is leaving behind?
Welcome back to this special edition of Your Morning. We hope you are enjoying your Canada Day.
In this half hour, it was a Canadian constant, now closed for good. So what will happen to the retail space the Hudson Bay leaves behind? Retail expert Bruce Winder joins us.
And coming up, we'll talk with the stars of 0 to 60 Driving Academy, Atlantic Canada's first Black family sitcom.
Sounds weird to say, but this morning the Bay is closed. So now the question is, what happens to all that empty retail space?
You come into these stores to experience choice. And so I'm sad about that, but I also am excited about what the future of this particular physical place will be.
So with 96 Hudson's Bay leases up for grabs, experts say an evolving retail landscape is going to make it difficult for landlords to quickly find a replacement. For more on what could happen to those former Bay stores, we're joined this morning by retail expert Bruce Winder. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the program.
As a reminder to everybody, the last Canadian Target and the Sears stores, those closed back in 2015, 2018. Yet we know some of that retail space is still sitting empty. What will the challenges ahead be for spaces like Hudson's Bay and those gaps that they leave in large retail spaces?
Yeah, it's going to be a massive challenge. I mean, every time a big box store closes, you know, it leaves behind sort of that legacy footprint. And to your point, not all of it is filled. So you've already got malls out there where they're struggling to fill the old Targets and Sears. But the good news with the Hudson's Bay story is it sounds like about 28 of the leases or 28 of the spots are going to be used by a billionaire from the West Coast named Ruby Liu, who's going to open up some form of department store. And there's going to be more details on that. The other locations, I believe Canadian Tire and a number of other folks have bid on some of them. So you might see existing retailers sort of pop up in some of the space. But for the leases that aren't really spoken for, it's going to be all over the map, you know, depending on the location of the facility. Some could turn into car dealerships. Some could turn into condominiums, office space, you know, pickleball courts, gyms, all over the map.
Is that maybe what comes to mind when we talk about, you know, Ruby Liu's plan for those 28 Hudson's Bay leases? And she talked about making it a new modern department store. Is that some of the idea?
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, we don't have all the details yet. Retail Insider interviewed her a few weeks ago, and she talked about creating almost feels like a mall within a mall, where it's a combination, a fusion of cultural diversity, age diversity. So you're going to have all kinds of age groups there, food, products, and entertainment. So it sounds pretty interesting. I mean, if you look at some of the malls, she owns 3 malls on the West Coast, and they're pretty active in terms of always having events and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see sort of what she does. Does she create a prototype first, you know, before she rolls out another 27, or how that's going to work? Everyone's pretty excited about that.
You know, in a lot of communities, mine included, you know, the Hudson's Bay took up sort of that chunk at the end of the mall, right? That's going to sit empty. But for several cities, and, you know, Vancouver and Toronto in particular, you've got these legacy buildings that are historic. The architecture is beautiful. How would that dictate? And they're multi-level, right? They're at least 3 floors. So how would that dictate what could go in that space?
Yeah, I mean, those are absolutely gorgeous buildings. Yeah, it's really going to be up to what happens with the landlords. You know, we don't know what locations Ruby Lou is going to take, but for the other locations, you know, you could put office buildings in there. You could make some really interesting condominiums in some of those old legacy buildings. You mean that would be sort of a selling feature for buyers. So, you know, we're going to have to wait and see what happens here.
Bruce, you know, it's day one of the Bay being officially closed. What do you think about when you reflect on that?
I feel really sad. I mean, I was out yesterday trying to get into a couple of bays, and I was really sad. And you're right. I mean, think about the last time that we hadn't had a bay was 1670. Wow. You know? The world's changed a lot since 1670. So it just feels really weird. It's eerie. It's surreal. I feel for the employees. I feel for the vendors. Yeah. And I feel like we've lost something.
I think everybody feels a bit of that this morning. Retail expert Bruce Winder, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Take care.
You too.
After the break, we'll take a look at some awesome creative AI projects you can do with your kids this summer.
Summer is almost here, and it is the perfect time to explore some fun and new educational activities with your kids, but emphasis on fun. So here were some creative ways to explore AI this summer. Is education strategist Dwayne Matthews. Good to have you back.
Thank you very much for having me.
Listen, first of all, we've had a lot of discussions about AI and how it's entering our kids' lives and what that looks like down the road for education and future. But why is summertime an important time for kids to get used to AI?
Well, I think it's a great time for them to explore on their own. A lot of the stuff coming with AI and education is really focused on the teachers getting accustomed to it and teachers using it. So I think the students need to have some time to really engage with it in a structured way. I think that's going to be very, very important for them in the next 12 to 48 months.
Well, yeah, because it's almost like a new language. And when you speak to any of the futurists, and yourself included, they talk about if you don't have AI skills, it's like not knowing how to use a computer.
Yes. Yes, it is that transformative, and you could get left behind. So you really want to make sure that you're thinking about how to use it and really leveraging it in the best way possible.
And making sure you present it to your kids as fun and not, you know, education in the summertime. So let's do the first project. It encourages structured learning by using AI. So can you explain that to us?
So the first thing that we do with my kids and my teen in particular is we pick 4 topics, they pick 4 topics, 1 per week, and we use Google Notebook LM.
Okay.
And this is really, really great. So one of the things that we were talking about before is that my son was reading Othello, and he came up with a statement where he said, Iago is like the social media of the internet. And so I said, well, let's explore that. So let's go find everything that we can find on this play. Let's put it into Google Notebook LM and start asking questions. Google Notebook LM will turn it into like a small micro AI site almost. Oh. You can get an overview where you create a podcast. You can create mind maps. There are lots of different ways that you can engage with it, but really to focus on asking lots and lots of questions.
And is this an app that you have to find somewhere?
It's free. If you go online, you just type in Google Notebook LM, it pops up. You can use it for free. The privacy is there because it's with Google, so it's a great way to engage with AI, and it's a fun way that you also get to use your own sources.
Oh, I like that. Okay, the next is an app that helps to build observation skills and visual storytelling, which is something we do here.
So a big part of summer for me is photo walks. I encourage my kids to get their devices out, to get their phones out, and to go for walks, and really to have a voice note of what are they observing? What did I see? The opportunity to observe in detail what's around you and pay attention. A lot of times we find our kids are looking at their phones and not necessarily looking up.
Right.
But now you're getting them to take their phones and really pay attention to what's around them. And this is important because it allows them to see opportunities, it allows them to be observant, and it allows them to see patterns. And using AI, you're going to need all those skills to really separate you from the rest of people that are just doing a random prompt.
This is what people like Thomas Jefferson did, for example, when they went out and they did nature walks and they started to find their own conclusions. And I always love your tips, Dwayne, because you use phones and technology not as time wasters, but as tools, which is the right way to teach people how to use them.
Perplexity AI. Perplexity AI is an AI search engine.
Okay.
And we get her to say the beginning of the prompt, explain it to me like I'm a 7-year-old.
Okay.
And it will actually get all the searches, all the images, all the videos like a 7-year-old and explain it like a 7-year-old. And we encourage her to ask questions and to play with the questions. So make them closed, what is, make them open, how might, what might. And this really, really encourages the brain and encourages her to see how the AI responds to her while she's doing all of that.
Because that's the key, is understanding how to prompt to use it as a tool. And you're teaching it at 7, which is so great.
Yes, and a big part for me is really about questions, creating the questions and creating the right question stacks. It's putting all the questions together in a way that you get to the information that you want, whether you want it small or you want it big.
Amazing. Education strategist Dwayne Matthews, thanks so much for coming on today. We always learn so much when you're here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Coming up, super fun Canadian-made toys that the children can play with all summer.
School is almost out for most kids across the country, and that means a whole lot of playtime. So what better way to add more fun than with some new toys for the kids to try out? Lori Schatt, who is the Chief Toy Officer at the Toy Insider, joins me this morning with some of the best Canadian-made toys on the market. Lori, great to have you.
And it's so great to be here, and let me tell you, not so easy finding toys made in Canada. So we have some toys made in Canada, some companies headquartered.
I love that.
80% of all toys made in China.
Yeah,
right?
so it's tough to find it, but you did all the legwork.
Yeah, you guys gave me a job to do, and I did it. So we're going to
it.
start with a company called Great Pretenders. So I love dress up for kids. It's so fun. So it's really interesting, because what I found and fell in love with was the dino vest and the unicorn vest that kids can wear every single day.
It's so cute.
So I'm like, oh, I love this. So I asked them to deliver it, and they delivered more, because not everything they do is made in Canada. These are not, but their regular costumes are.
Oh,
so you get a little bit of both with a company that's headquartered in Ontario, and they're fabulous. I love dress up for kids. You know, you have young kids, right?
I do.
Don't they love it?
Listen, the boys wore costumes. I was pretty sure our oldest was going to wear the costumes right to school. He did not, but he could have. With something like this, you could wear that as almost like a sweater.
Right, so I love this every day, but you know, the regular costumes are awesome.
So cool. Okay, this next one, you know what this reminds me of? This toy reminds me of, you know those paddles that we had in like the 90s where it was like Velcro and you threw the ball? Like, I don't even remember what that was called. This is now like a full body version.
Right, so if we were little, this vest would fit right over our head. So this is from a company, this is Batat. This is a family-owned, founded business, still family-run, out of Montreal. So not produced in Canada, but headquartered in Canada, a Canadian family. And now we have Munster Tag. So go ahead, take these nice soft balls, pretend I'm wearing the vest, go ahead, throw them at me. And then I'd be running away.
I love that.
And you'd be getting them back. So, and what I love is that you can play this indoors or out. You want to get outside, you want to play, right? But if it's raining, if it's cold, you can play it inside. They're super soft. They're not going to do any damage.
No, well, listen, that's a challenge my boys will accept.
But that makes amazing toys anyway. And by the way, so does Spin Master.
This is so cute. I love it. It's good for bath time, but also the pool.
It's mostly for the pool. I'll tell you why. So these fish are awesome. So Spin Master, by the way, headquartered in Canada, so they don't make the toys here, but they started out a small little company. 2 guys started it, and they have expanded. So great. I don't even know why you're swimming. You're not in the water yet, but that's exactly what happens. We put them in the water. They automatically start swimming. So you put them in a pool. Not only will kids feel like they're swimming with fish, but they'll swim up and down different speeds. It's great for kids' swimming skills.
So we're watching it right here.
Yep, so they're so cool. They'll swim at different speeds. They'll go up and down, and your kids are following.
Oh my gosh, okay, so now I get why you said not for the bath.
Yeah, it's really for the pool. It's really a summer toy. Yeah, you could throw them in the bathtub, but they really belong in the pool.
They want to swim. Okay, this next one, this is so cute. Wait, can you tell us about this headphone stand?
All right, so one of my editors found this one. I'm like, help, I need some Canadian companies. So this is a company called Hello Oregano. They are in Canada. They make everything in Canada, small batch, sustainable, eco-friendly. This is our Heartwing headphone stand. So it doesn't come with the headphone. It's all about the stand.
Cool.
This one is all glam with the wings, right? You can swap out the headphones. And even though it says 6 and up, It's really made for your teenagers, your adults. It's made for your gamers.
I love
right?
that. And I feel like as kids get older, we talk about this a lot with my girlfriends, it gets harder to buy them things that aren't crazy expensive.
Right.
Right? It's like they want like the tech and the cool things that we like, and I love that.
Right.
But something like this preserves that kind of childhood essence.
It does.
Right? And
Yeah.
it also taps
and there's
into
lots
the tech.
of choices. I picked this one, but they make all kinds. 3D printed, and they start at about $50.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's a rainy day, what's a good toy that we can do inside that keeps us occupied?
Puzzles, but you haven't seen puzzles like this. So again, a company that is headquartered in Canada and everything is made in Canada. This is Rebit, and they make 3D puzzles. I chose the Ghostbusters. I love Ghostbusters.
So cool.
Here's the Echo One car. Here's what it looks like. 280 pieces put together. It is totally awesome. Newer, of course, is the Firehouse. Also just beautiful. These puzzles are gorgeous, and it's not just Ghostbusters. Scenes from like skylines, everything. Amazing.
So cool. Lori, thank you. These are amazing Canadian toys. We love having you. Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, do you remember driving school? Do you remember how nervous you were? I mean, I do. Some people feel nervous on the inside, but they're really calm on the outside. And then there are others more like this.
Breathe, that's it. That's it. You got it. You got it. Okay. I got it. Okay. Not that deep, baby. Not that deep. Not deep. Eyes on the road. Eyes on the road. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eyes on the road.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
You all right?
I'm all right.
You all right?
I'm all right.
You all right, man?
I'm all right.
And now.
Now what? Yo, nobody. Now what?
Yeah, so good. 0 to 60 Driving Academy. It is a brand new show that centers around a driving school inspired by Steve Lawrence's real life experience as a driving instructor. And this show is making history. 0 to 60 is Atlantic Canada's first ever Black-led family sitcom. The show was co-created by Alexander McLean, a stunt performer and actor who stars as Steve's daughter. Steve and Alexander, both co-creators, joined us this morning. Good to have you both on the show.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having
us. Honestly, this is such a great concept for a show. Steve, I've got to ask you, you are a co-creator of the show. You were a driving instructor in real life at some point. What was the wildest experience you had with a student?
The wildest.
Were you ever scared in the car?
At first, for first 5-10 years, I was scared at first, but we have a brake on my side, so it was okay. As long as I got a brake, it's not like the parents when they're trying to look for a brake, I have one.
You have a brake.
So that ain't happening. Done.
Yeah. Did you use a lot?
A few times.
A few times?
Some people drive on the wrong side of the road and things. You know, it happens.
Wait, they drive on the wrong side of the road?
Because some people come from other countries, as you know.
Oh, I see.
From
Okay,
England
yes.
somewhere, and they get in the car, and
Yeah.
a few weird experiences, for sure.
Yeah, using that brake.
Girl, yep.
Alexander, you are a co-creator, you're co-writer, actor, producer on this show. You're from Halifax, correct? Yeah. And Steve, you're from Dartmouth?
Yeah, I live in Dartmouth, yeah.
Okay, and so how did you two meet?
Well,
tell the story, girl.
My dad actually knew Steve when Steve was younger, but we didn't really meet until a few years ago on another one of Jonathan Torrance's shows. And we still didn't really talk about how my dad knew him until we were in the writer's room for this show. Yeah.
That was really strange.
And?
It was strange.
What's the story?
Strange. First thing I heard was, do I call you Steve or Stevie? And I went, what? Who's this kid? She knows something. Okay, and then but just before that, Jonathan said to me, "We got this new young writer coming up. Alex, she's really good, Steve. We should bring her on." I went, "Okay, sure." And then she told me, "Steve or Steve," and I went, "Oh, Steve." And then, "Well, you know my father." Oh.
Oh.
Oh, was really shocked to my system, but yes, her father and I were friends, and yes.
Friends from back in the day.
Yeah, back when we were teenagers, yeah.
Isn't that funny? Because when you say you called him Stevie, if somebody calls me my last name Deluce, I know exactly what era of my life.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I know the era of life, and then I get to piece it together.
Me.
Yeah, that's a high school thing. And then there are other nicknames too. If they whip out, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, you really know me.
Yeah, you really, which I cannot say on air.
Exactly.
Do you have any nicknames for you?
I mean, my dad used to call me Chuck. I don't know where that came
from.
Yeah.
Come on, Chuck.
Yeah, so strange.
That's really funny. And he's never explained it?
No.
Great both.
He never did.
The greatest secret of all time. Let's talk about the premise of this show, because yes, I mentioned driving school, but it's also so lovely, the relationship between father and daughter on this show. I want to play our viewers a little clip. Here we go.
Fine. I'll conduct the road test for you.
You?
Really?
You and the road test don't really get along together.
I think the word you were looking for was thanks.
I know she didn't hang up on me. You know what? Oh boy, if I would hang up my father, he would have done slapped the taste off my mouth.
Fine.
It's so true. It's so true.
So true.
I know with my kids now, like my
So
husband and I are
true.
like, I would never have said that to my parents. You know, it's like one
Seriously,
of those things.
exactly.
Your on-screen chemistry is so awesome. How much work do you have to do off-screen to have that work, or is it just it's a natural thing?
Honestly, like none. We've heard that we're kind of a sitcom. Myself, Stevie, and Devin, who plays my brother, baby Steve.
Yeah.
We've been told we're like a sitcom off the air. Like it's just we're from the community, right? So we all kind of knew each other. We've been on sets before a little bit. So it was just like that. We just clicked.
It's so great.
Just have some fun. Yeah, we just like she said, we just clicked. Had a bunch of fun off screen and on screen. We just stupid.
Yeah, but it's the kind of stupid fun you like, right?
Exactly.
And it's great to watch, too.
It's all natural, you know, nobody's forcing anything.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun. Everybody a lot of respect outside and on set. So.
And that's the key. It's respecting each other, you know, both professionally and personally. It's great to have you both on. Congratulations on the show.
Thank
you very much.
0260 Driving Academy is now streaming on Bell 5, TV 1.
Coming up, Carley Fortune is back with her new best-selling novel, and it really is the perfect cottage read. Welcome back to the last hour of this special edition of Your Morning. We really hope you're enjoying Canada Day with your loved ones.
In our final half hour, we sit down with a few Canadians that will have you waving that flag with pride.
Yeah, we sure do. Director Domee is back with her new film, and author Carley Fortune adds another one to your must-read list.
Good things happen at the lake. That's a slogan from one of the characters in our next novel. Fans of best-selling author Carley Fortune will be thrilled to find out she is taking readers back to the sun-soaked docks of Barry's Bay, where it all began. And back to the brothers that captured readers' hearts in her debut novel. One Golden Summer is her fourth book, and it's featuring some familiar faces and some new ones as well. Carley Fortune is back in our studio this morning. Welcome back. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Listen, we had to protect these copies. These go missing. In fact, mine went missing, and I've been interrogating everybody I know. Like, do you have my copy? Everybody wants their hands on this one. Give us the spoiler-free elevator pitch of this fourth book.
Yeah, so this is about Alice. This is a new character who spent one amazing summer at the lake when she was 17, and it's where she fell in love with photography. She took one photo of 3 teenagers in a yellow boat that changed her life. It was the first photo she sold. And now she's kind of stuck professionally as a photographer. And when her grandmother falls and breaks her hip, she needs surgery. She decides to take her grandmother back to the lake to recover. And so she's looking for peace and quiet, but then she hears the roar of a familiar yellow boat's motor. And the man driving it is none other than Charlie Florek, who's one of the boys who is in her photograph, and he's one of the characters from my first novel, Every Summer After.
Yeah. Are you internally screaming yet? You should be internally screaming. So there's so many people fell in love with the characters from your first book. As a reader, it is so satisfying to see where it has led them and to bring back and to visit them, to come back to this lake.
Thank you.
What made you want to return to the setting of book 1?
Well, I grew up in Barry's Bay, so I love it very much. I go back to the lake every summer myself. And when I finished writing Every Summer After, I had Charlie, this character's voice, in my head. I'd written a couple of lines, and then I didn't really have a story for him, so I set it aside. And then readers started demanding a story for him. I had this book signing in Toronto, and 2 women waited to the end of the line for an hour and a half to the signing line, and they said, "We need a happy ending for Charlie. Justice for Charlie."
Oh.
And people would DM me, and so I was like, I knew that I would do it eventually. And so, yeah, when it came time
Charlie's
for book
voice is being heard.
Yeah.
Listen, you should stay in line for those book signings, by the way, because the authors actually listen. Your book is so great because it's proudly Canadian. Your books have always been set in Canada, and it's one of the charms, I think, that people enjoy about them so much.
Yes.
Did you ever receive any pushback to make it a more generic lake setting?
You know, the first step in publishing is getting an agent. And so when I was talking to different agents, one agent here in Canada said I should set it in the States, and I knew that I wouldn't do that. I've never really vacationed in the States. It wasn't right for me. But when I found my agent, who's based in Los Angeles, and my editor, who's based in New York, they loved the Canadian setting. And it's a character in the book. And I found, like, it's so nice for Canadians to read about home,
Yes.
but people around the world, they love reading about how beautiful the country is. It's like an escape for them as well.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And I love how you also wrote about the city in one of your books as well, because we've been around these places in Toronto. Let's talk about research. You did spend a lot of time in Barry's Bay growing up. The cottage elements come from very loved and cherished memories that you have. But in this book, one of the characters is a photographer. And there's some medical elements. Yeah. There's a hip replacement, some cardiologists. How did you research those elements in?
Well, my very good friend is a photographer. Her name is Jenna. She works here in Toronto, Anne-Marie Mediwake. And I've known her since I was in my 20s. We worked at our first jobs together, and she always had a camera in her hand, and she helped me with a lot of like the technical aspects. And I spoke with another photographer here, Erin Layden, who does beautiful portraits, and I felt like she would have a lot of like insight into Alice's character. And I interviewed doctors. I interviewed a physiotherapist who lives in Barry's Bay, Joanne Olson, and I do my research. Yes.
Yeah, of course you do. You can tell all your homework is done. Listen, all of your books have been optioned for screen adaptation, which is amazing. I cannot wait when that happens. And you posted a little something in January, which we've pulled up for everybody to see. So this is from your social media. Year after year. What does this mean? Oh, every year after.
Yeah, so that is the picture from the writer's room for the Every Summer After adaptation, which is a series with Amazon. Yeah. And that is shooting very soon, the first season, which is exciting. Meet Me at the Lake is in development as a film, and it's coming along really beautifully, so I'm excited about that.
Carley, we have had you on this sofa since your very first book came out.
Thank you.
I can remember that interview distinctly because I love the premise of the book, but when you set out to write it, compared to where you are now, like what's been the biggest surprise for you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, everything, honestly.
You're a busy mom too, like you write around
I have two kids. But I wrote this book the first book for myself. I didn't intend to publish it when I started out. It was a passion project for me, so this has all been wild. I was in Brazil in the fall, in Sao Paulo, and the readers were screaming at the mention of Barry's Bay and Every Summer After. And Barry's Bay is a town of 1,200 people, so to be in Brazil and have people know of this small town in rural Ontario was like surreal, completely surreal.
I think you fortunately boosted the tourism back to PEI after your last book.
There's a lot of people going there, yes.
Carley, fortunate, your name is like a prophecy. Great fortune to you. Thanks so much for joining us. And a reminder, this newest novel, You Can't Have Mine, Go Buy Your Own, is called One Golden Summer.
Coming up, director Domee joins us with a sneak peek into her newest animated film, Elio.
All right, question for you. Have you ever looked up at the sky and wondered, are we truly alone on planet Earth? And what else is really out there? I wonder that all the time. And so does a little boy named Elio. Have a look.
Friends, I just want to belong somewhere. So if any aliens are listening, please come and get me. Okay, bye, love you. It's really happening.
Love that. So Elio gets abducted by aliens and beamed up into space, as you saw there, specifically the Communiverse. There he bonds with a group of life forms and attempts to save them from an alien warlord. Domee is one of the directors behind Elio, and she joins us here in the Your Morning studio to tell us more about the film. Good morning and welcome back. You've been here multiple times, so it is so great to welcome you back.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to be here again.
I saw the film on Friday at a press screening. I absolutely loved it. I've been a fan of yours for a long time. I want to talk about that in a second. Kind of going back to Bow and Turning Red. But first off, I mentioned a little bit about this character, about Elio, off the top. Can you get into a little more about him? He's such a wonderful boy.
Yeah, he's wonderful. He's weird. What sets him apart from other kids is that he wants to be abducted by aliens. That is his life mission. That is his goal. Yeah. And it actually does come true in the movie. His wish is granted and he's picked up. He's mistaken for the leader of Earth and he's abducted and he's transported to this wonderful place called the Communiverse, which is kind of like Space UN. It's like the Space United Nations. All of these aliens from all over the galaxies and the universe come, live together, work together, exchange technology and information, and he just realizes when he arrives, he's like, I have to stay here. I have to do whatever it takes to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. It's a really great movie. There's so many special characters in it. It's interesting, like, as I was watching it too, obviously, like, Elio's kind of motivating force in life is this obsession with space. And the question we all ask a lot, are we alone out there in the universe? That really drives him. And I was thinking about you, because I've been a fan of yours for a long time. And as I was watching the movie, I've read that, you know, as you were growing up, you had obviously this obsession with, like, anime and animation and manga. So is it true that you were the vice president of your school's anime club when you were growing up?
I was a vice president.
I love that.
Of the anime club at Don Mills Collegiate Institute.
I love that. And it kind of got me thinking about, like, the notion of fandom and being really into things as we grow up, and that driving our interest as adults. Is that kind of part of the story that you wanted to tell here?
Oh, definitely. I think I drew a lot from my own experience being that weird, lonely kid, kind of like yearning to like go to a place where I felt like I belonged. That moment, that abduct me moment for myself was when I actually went to animation school for the first time, when I went to Sheridan College.
Sheridan, yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, finally I'm with my people. I'm with people that understand all my movie and TV references, who've like read all the comics that I've read. That's how Elio feels when he arrives to the Communiverse. And I feel like for a lot of us, like artsy kids, like we're like pursuing something, but I think we're also running away from something as well. And I think for Elio, he's incredibly lonely, like deep down. He's very driven, but that drive is like, like underneath all of that, he just feels like no one understands him on Earth, kind of like how a lot of us feel, and that's kind of what drives us into our passion sometimes too.
Yeah, and his passion, as I said, obviously is space and what's out there. Can you talk a little bit about the research that you did for this film? Like, did you actually focus a lot on astronomy and space? Did you ground this in some real research?
Yeah. So our art team was led by the incredible Harley Jessup. He's our production designer. He was also the production designer for Coco and Ratatouille, and he's just known for like amazing world building.
Yeah.
He did some like he like made it a personal goal just to like make sure that the way we designed the Communiverse and space was unlike anything that you've seen in other sci-fi movies. And I think what drove us in the design was that this is an aspirational space. This isn't a space that's scary, that's full of monsters that are there to like abduct you or dissect you or replace you. Like this space is like it's wish fulfillment for Elio. So if Earth for Elio is like constraining him, if it's like monochromatic, if it's desaturated and kind of confining, then space is the opposite. It's colorful, it's bright, it's vibrant, it's full of all of these diverse aliens of all shapes and sizes, some with like no eyes, some with like 3 eyes, and he immediately feels like he's like accepted and like a weirdo amongst all kinds of weirdos.
Yeah.
And then Harley did a bunch of research on macro photography, on deep sea creatures. So when you look at the aliens, they kind of have that deep sea creature kind of vibe and design. But a lot of curved shapes. Like we didn't want to go with angular shapes or or like super cold metallic technology. We want, again, we want space to feel warm and inviting.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. All the research shows it's great. And you or some of your colleagues spoke with Dr. Jill Tarter, right? Who's kind of the inspiration behind Jodie Foster's character in Contact.
Yes. Yeah. Like she and the SETI organization and that movie were such big inspirations for this movie because they, again, show an aspirational space and the wonder and curiosity of space exploration.
Yeah.
And like that spirit really drives Elio. It really is infused in every aspect of this movie.
Yep.
And I think what a wonderful like message too, to kind of like have a protagonist who is excited about going into the unknown, of like making contact and connection with beings that don't look like him too. I think that's such an important message nowadays as well.
I love that. Well, thank you for being here. I've been a fan of yours since Bow, that 2018 short, won the Academy Award. You were nominated for Turning Red as well in 2022, and this film is truly wonderful. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Teddy.
Coming up, a veterinarian and his daughter team up to rescue animals all over the world, and it's all captured in a powerful new documentary.
Dr. Cliff Redford is a veterinarian who has traveled the world to help animals in need, and one of his most powerful experiences took him to India. And it is all captured in the award-winning documentary, Dr. Cliff, Worldwide Vet. Here's a look.
Just gonna check his pulse in here. These rings are not solid. Okay. Okay. Oh, no, it's not that side.
There's a pigeon stuck on the side of this bridge. They're not gonna stop the traffic.
The second this dog escaped out of sight into the shed at night, we knew things all of a sudden became much more urgent and much more difficult.
Dr. Cliff owns a Wellington Veterinary Hospital in Markham, Ontario, and he has worked in countries like Egypt, Jamaica, Greece, and along the Poland-Ukraine border, helping rescue groups where the resources are limited. And he joins us in studio. You might remember him from his previous visit. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Listen, just before we talk about your docuseries, I want to talk about rescue, because we were just talking about wildfires, and one of the sad pieces in evacuation we know is often people can't bring their pets with them. You have experience with that.
Yeah, I did some volunteer work up in Greece with the 9 Lives Cat Rescue of Athens, and there unfortunately was a wildfire while we were there. So we kind of changed our volunteer plans and went into this community. 2,000 homes burned, a couple hundred people unfortunately perished, and then obviously a lot of them couldn't take their animals, so we went in there and tried to rescue the ones that were still alive.
Must be just a heartbreaking scene when you get there. These pets are scared, they don't have their people.
Yeah, it's really tough, and this was before I had gone to Ukraine, so it was like a warm-up, unfortunately, for the need for animal rescue. And but I love what I do, and it can be difficult, but it changes me. It helps me.
And I know that you have a life-changing experience in every country you visit. What made you want to go to India?
Yeah, India is a great one. So I was looking for, and this was the very first trip. I've been to India twice, and the first time we went 5 or 6 years ago was the first time my daughter came with me and really went anywhere. So she was 18 years old, and I took her to India.
Yeah.
I'd just never been to Asia. I'd never been that far east, and I had some friends in Hyderabad, the city that we went to, so it sort of worked out, and I love it. It's probably my favorite place to volunteer.
You know, you mentioned it's very different than veterinary services, at least in more remote areas. What are some of the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, I mean, the medicine's very, very different. Probably the biggest thing for me is, one, the diseases are very different with that warm climate, so I was relearning things that I'd learned back in the late 90s. And I don't know, we don't have any monkeys coming to my clinic here in Markham. So things like that, seeing monkeys and giant flying bats and all these amazing creatures, it was quite a eye-opening experience.
The wildlife aside, is there an animal or a pet client that you took care of that still stays with you?
Oh, definitely Clementine, the monkey, the rhesus monkey. It was the first time I had to do surgery or even care for a primate, a fellow almost human.
What kind of surgery?
So I don't want to give up too much of the story because it is in the documentary, but she had been struck by a vehicle. She had a broken jaw, a head laceration.
So serious surgery.
Yeah, and then she ended up having complications that we didn't expect, so it was multiple surgeries. So everyone check it out because it's quite a touching story.
You know, you mentioned your daughter, Emily. She's a big part of this documentary.
Yeah.
She's right in there with you, taking care of the animals. She even jumps in to save not just the animals, but you as well. What happened?
Yeah, I sometimes leap before I look. I'm kind of a ready, fire, aim sort of guy. I think all the Redfords are like that. So by having my daughter there, she would occasionally pull me aside and say, "Take a step, Dad. I need you around as long as possible."
Oh, there we see it.
Yeah. So, you know, there was times, oh, that's right.
There it is.
Yeah, I got a little too close. This is like foreshadowing. We are there during Diwali, the Festival of Lights.
Oh,
the fireworks
fortunate.
can hurt animals. And unfortunately, they hurt veterinarians as well who get too close. So she's there saying, "It's a hole. He's got a hole in his head." I still have a scar.
I was gonna ask.
She did a great job, though, but I did have to wear one of those cones for a couple of days.
No, you didn't. You've been to so many different countries. How do you decide where you're going to go next?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly pick places we've never been to and places we want to go to. But the big thing is I've learned kind of the hard way to really, no pun intended, vet the animal rescues that I'm going to be working with.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that we're not going to be sitting around. We want to work 12, 14, 15 hours every day, no going to the beach, no relaxing. When I went to India, I went a little bit early and did some surfing in Goa.
Yeah.
But that was before the film. So we just go to a place that needs us and has the systems in place for us to do a lot of work.
The people must be so grateful wherever you travel.
Yeah, they're really appreciative, but the thing is, I learned so much from them, and especially from the non-veterinarians. So any veterinarians listening or future veterinarians, close the mouth, open the ears, listen to these non-veterinarians. You're going to learn a lot, and we make these great friendships, and these people are like my family now.
You're going to see all of that and more in Dr. Cliff Worldwide Vet. Dr. Cliff Redford, great to have you back with us.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I mean, that's just me being a Canadian, right? Our next guest knows that very well. He is a Canadian living in the U.S. He's ready to tell you all about it. Connor Malbeuf is taking the stage with his comedy show, Sorry, A Canadian's Apology for America. Take a look.
I find it truly comical, and also disgusting that we banned TikTok in this country before guns. Yeah. You know? That's how I know we're an unserious nation. We said the gravest threat to this country is, well, kids lip-syncing Gracie Abrams. And a man in his 90s teaching me how to sous vide an egg in a microwave.
Yeah, and I'll watch all of it. Connor joins us now. Good morning to you. Nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
And I think it's fair to say welcome home.
Oh, it feels good to be
back. Does it feel good?
It does.
You grew up in Aurora, right?
I grew up in Aurora, was there for pretty much my entire childhood. Went to school in London.
Okay.
Western, through and through. Then went to the States, and I've been there for 8 years.
Been there for 8 years. Can you believe it's been 8 years? You were there pre-COVID.
Yes, I can believe it.
Yeah.
If you've noticed, there's a couple things happening there once or twice. They don't give us a break.
No, and especially in the news cycle where it's like, okay, what are we going to talk about today? I want to talk about you today because
Cool.
Aurora, you grew up there. Were you always a theater kid?
I mean, I think some of my teachers would say I was, but I think I was quite resistant to it for a really long time. I don't exactly know why. I think insecurities, being a closeted gay kid, I think there's a lot of probably trauma from that, who knows?
Yeah,
but I genuinely think that like going to the US, like getting really deep within that community, especially the comedy scene, really allowed me to like find what I wanted to talk about.
Because you work behind the scenes a lot. As a
I work,
producer.
yeah, exactly. Most of the work I do is like directing, producing, writing. And so I took 5 years off, and so this is my foray back into comedy.
Right.
I wrote the show after the 2024 election. God, it feels like 100 years ago. And I wrote it in such a short amount of time because I was just so angry and frustrated, concerned citizen.
Yeah.
I think Canadians, we have this like immense need to try to make sense of things when everything starts to go awry.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly over in America, like trying to figure out what's gone wrong, or like just try to make sense of it.
Yeah, which I
And
think
so
a lot
this
of us
is-
try to do. And then, so you were able to write that in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
Was that a surprise to you?
No, I think because when we have this pent up adrenaline, anger, passion, that's when it just flies out.
Flies out. There was so much content.
I mean, I've
too.
definitely evolved the show, especially now for a Canadian audience.
I was going to ask you that. So let's talk about that. The difference between an American audience and a Canadian audience. So it's not the same show?
No, it's just more Pierre Polivier jokes. That's pretty much it. Which he makes it very easy. So that's all I'll say.
What about in terms of how Canadians react to your material versus Americans react?
Well, I think Canadians are constantly sitting back saying like, what is happening? And so all I'm doing is telling you what you're thinking. And I'm just giving you an outlet to kind of laugh at the hypocrisy. And so this show, at the end of the day, will give people a big sigh of relief.
Yeah.
Because they can see themselves in what I'm trying to say. And they're big topics. So especially in comedy, taking topics like immigration, border, whatever it might be, healthcare, whatever it might be, and making it a story and making it digestible is, I think, good for everybody. If we can't do anything, we should at least be able to laugh.
Do you remember when you made people laugh for the first time? Do you remember that moment when you were younger?
Oh my goodness!
Was it in the classroom? Was it with family?
You know what? It was probably with my dad. I think I've told this story. I was like, if you can make your cop dad laugh, I think you're doing something right. Because it's really hard to make a police officer laugh.
Good for you.
And so if I was doing that, I was like, and he was like a pretty strong-willed guy from Sudbury, Ontario.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah, if you can even get a little bit of a smile out, you're doing okay.
He was your first audience. I mean, you've collaborated with huge names. We just talked about all of the work that you've done behind the scenes. I mean, Jon Stewart, Dave Chappelle, Pete Davidson. In terms of making that switch, do you remember the moment, because you've produced
all of those people and all those specials. So the moment you're like, okay, I'm ready to take this and be in that light, what was that moment like? And was that hard to make that transition?
It wasn't hard.
Okay.
And that's what's so easy and perfect about the show, is that it finally feels right. Because it took a long time for me to be in a headspace where I could actually lean in and write a 1 hour and 15-minute show. That's just me. It's just me up on the stage. Obviously, there's video elements and some cool, there's some funny extra things that are in the show. But for the most part, it's an hour and 15 minutes of me standing under a spotlight, making you think and making you laugh. And so working with Jon Stewart, John Mulaney, Richard Kind, Nikki Glazer, they have taken 20, 30, so many years crafting their material, committing to the bit, finding their niche, finding their voice. And so for me, watching them, able to see that every single day, I mean, you just inevitably learn really quickly. And it made me find my voice. And they've all pretty much been very, very supportive, and it's been really fun.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It's so nice to meet you. Congratulations
Thank
on
you so
all the
much.
success. You can catch Connor in Story, A Canadian's Apology for America, at Paradise Theatre in Toronto this Saturday, June 14th. Connor, thank you.
Thank you.
After the break, getting a taste of authentic Canadian flavors with recipes inspired by different regions in our country. Good morning, Canada. Welcome back to this special edition of Your Morning. We hope you're enjoying your day, maybe grilling delicious food. Here's what we're cooking up for you.
With beef prices on the rise, as we know, we are heading to the Your Morning kitchen with some elevated alternatives.
And we're going to take a look at 3 yummy recipes inspired by Vancouver Island, the prairies, and PEI.
All right, one thing that we can all agree on right now, our Canadian pride has been an all-time high for many months. And what better way to celebrate our country than with some good food, because today, cookbook author and food writer Dan Clapson is here in the kitchen, and he's whipping up some tasty dishes with flavors inspired by different parts of Canada. I love this, Dan. Before we dive into it, though, if you want the recipes at home for yourself, scan the QR code on the screen to get them. Good to see you, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
How's it going? What are we starting with here?
I thought we'd start on the West Coast and work our way east. How does that sound?
That works
sounds
great.
Sounds good to me.
Into it.
Now, my sister lives on Vancouver Island, and I love visiting there, and obviously seafood is very plentiful over there.
Yeah.
So I thought I would do a spin on oysters Rockefeller by using West Coast scallops and a spinach mixture that mixes in nori, so seaweed as well.
Oh,
so
cool.
A bit of that West Coast flair.
Oh, I love that. That is awesome. And so how long do these go in the oven for?
So we're gonna go in the oven for about 6 to 8 minutes. We just want to cook, the mixture we're using here is cooked down in some cream and garlic. There's some other spices, and again, nori crushed up in there as well. So we just really need to reheat and get a nice golden brown on top.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get you to help me by spooning some of that on top of each scallop.
Okay, perfect.
And maybe I will dust with breadcrumbs while you do that.
Yeah, I'll do this, you dust.
Yeah.
I love that. How much do I put on? Because I'm prone to putting on a lot,
if you're hungry, we can put on a lot.
I'm hungry.
Enough to cover, let's
There
say.
we go, enough to cover.
Yeah, that
I
looks
love
great to
this.
me.
And you know, it's the other side of the country, but I grew up digging clams in Digby, Nova Scotia.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, because my brother was born there. We used to dig clams, great memories.
I love Nova Scotia.
Or scallops, rather, yeah. Scallop capital of the world, many say.
When I was shopping for these yesterday, I saw Digby dulse in the grocery store,
Oh,
which I'm sure you've
cool.
eaten before.
I have indeed,
Yes.
yeah. And
All
West
right.
Coast scallops, awesome.
Beauty.
Love
I'm
it.
making such a mess here. Okay,
You dusting
breadcrumbs
them
on
up?
top, a little
Okay.
dust. And then these are gonna go in the preheated oven.
Okay.
I like to use a low broil. Not every oven has that setting, but if you do, doing low broil at about 400 is great for this.
Okay, go with the low broil.
Yeah, we'll
I like
pop this
that.
in here.
Okay.
And then we'll do...
And through the magic of television.
I don't get to always do this in Western Canada. It is always a treat to do a full swap. And there we go. We have our
Look at this.
beautiful finished product. I think I was more hungry earlier, so I put a bit more spinach on.
I
there,
love
but-
scallops. I'm totally okay with that, Dan.
If you want to try, you can just dive right in. Even the same
Okay.
spoon is fine.
Yeah. So just, should I spoon them into my mouth?
I think just
or-
grab that spoon
okay,
there.
Cool, awesome.
You know, the scallop shell is such a great vessel for this too.
Yeah.
You can cover lots of area.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just gonna go for it, honestly. No.
That's what I'd call real nice. Oh my goodness, that's delicious,
That's good,
man.
right?
I love that. I'm a scallop fan, and these are some of the best scallops I've ever had. True story.
This is literally my breakfast today, so. Okay.
Me too. Scallops for breakfast. All right.
Moving swiftly along.
Let's keep it going. What's here and what part of the country is inspiration for this?
So I grew up in Saskatoon. So this is a DIY goulash-style braised beef kind of platter here. I say goulash style because it has the spices of goulash in there.
It's goulash-ish.
Yeah, goulash-ish. Say that 10 times fast.
Thank you,
Or
Dan.
even 3 would be hard. Okay. So in there you have some tomato paste, some marjoram, garlic, obviously.
Yep.
Whatever spices you kind of like is great. For this, I use a sirloin tip roast. You know, it's a more economically priced cut, so it's great. It goes a long way. And you cook it until it's tender, tear it apart, and now I kind of, well, I went a little crazy with the offerings here.
Oh, I love that.
But this is great, and the reason why I chose this to sort of signify like me road tripping through the prairies with my friends is that when you drive through the prairies, you really do drive by so many cattle ranches and stuff, whether you're driving Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, and people on these farms and ranches, they sit and they eat together and they have big family-style meals. So that's really what I wanted to exemplify here.
Okay, let's get into it.
So I got a bun for you there. I mean, if you want a wrap, you can use a wrap. Some people like lettuce.
I'm gonna go right for the bun if that's cool.
And
Yeah.
I've
Put some of the
cheese slices.
Yep.
Relish, and I have this right here, an ode to my home province.
What is that?
A Haskap and caramelized onion jam.
Oh, I love onion jam. It's actually delicious.
Yeah, so you get that sort of sweet, savory element. Haskap berries they're not native to Saskatchewan per se. They exist in different provinces, but the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon domesticated the crop to allow commercial growers to grow it across the country.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, the fact that you have Haskaps in Ontario you can buy at the grocery store are really only because of, well, not me, but from people that live in the same city as me. So there we go. Smarter than me, I would say.
love that. Okay, while I dig into this, confession time, I love any run-of-the-mill potato salad.
Oh, yeah.
But this is a potato salad with a twist, right? Tell us about it while I get into this.
I think my friends know me well for putting pickle juice and dill pickles into literally anything. So this is a dill pickle potato salad. I mean, I think we can agree that dill pickles are really having a moment still these days. Yeah. And this is my ode to, my dad lives in PEI, I know his family's from there. This is essentially a deconstructed lobster roll as a layered salad. You can see the dill pickle salad, the dill pickle potato salad on the bottom. Oh, yeah. Then we have the lobster salad in the middle. I kind of freshen it up with a bit of fresh herbs, some vinegar to kind of make it pop, a bit of honey for sweetness. And then instead of serving it in a bun, I just toast the brioche hot dog bun as a crouton to get like all the flavors all together.
Can I try a bit?
I think so.
Dan, could you do me a solid and pass me one of the napkins that's right there?
I know.
I've dripped all over the set. Classic Teddy.
If you're not making a mess with the slider, then are you really living life?
Dan, this is delicious and very patriotic. Thank you so much for being
having
here.
me.
Again, if at home you want these recipes, scan the QR code on your screen. Sorry to talk with my mouth full. And thank you so much to food writer and cookbook author Dan Clapson.
Coming up, easy summer salads packed with protein and guaranteed to land on your go-to rotation.
Oh, if you are looking for the perfect summer salad for your next cottage weekend or potluck or barbecue, you definitely want to you'll find it somewhere in the pages of this brand new cookbook. Every salad ever is exactly what it says. It's a cookbook that is packed with pages and pages of mouth-watering, crispy, crunchy, nutrient-packed salads that are easy to make and even more enjoyable to eat. So joining us to share a few this morning on the bean theme is the one and only Greta Podleski. It is so great to have you in our kitchen here.
I know, it's been way too long, and I'm so happy to be back today talking about, in particular, bean salads, because a lot of people think salads are just like lettucey things. Right. But they aren't. They can be grains, they can be greens, they can be pasta, they can be anything. And beans are so nutritious, so I thought I'd do just something different today other than no lettuce.
Everybody's all on eat your protein. So that's what beans are good for. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody to scan the QR code because you will get those recipes there. Okay, there's a chapter in the book called The Bean Theme. And protein, because it's such a hot topic, we are going to do a couple of them here, and these look so good.
Yeah, so I like to use canned beans. I always say they're convenient, but dried beans are also really easy to cook. So I just brought a sample of those. All of those appear somewhere in the book. You can get them in canned form or dried form. For dried form, like you make them the night before, you put them in freezer bags. You can do a month's worth, 2 months worth, right?
Wow.
And just put them in little Ziploc bags. They're super easy to do. But what I wanted to do today is a recipe that people may be familiar with, but I put a different twist on it. So I wanted to talk about Lebanese tabbouleh, which is basically like a fresh herb salad.
That's one of my favorites.
With parsley and mint. I know a lot of people love it, but in order to turn it into something with more substance, with protein and fiber, I've added navy beans to it, and another secret ingredient, which I'm gonna get you to identify later.
Oh no.
So why don't you make the main body of the salad, and I'll tell you what's in it.
Okay,
so
which order am I going?
We're gonna go with the navy beans, so it's one can that I've drained and rinsed.
Okay, what size a can?
The 19-ounce can, just a standard can. Okay. Like, honestly, they're on sale for $1.29 all the time, so this is very economical.
I love the economics of it.
And then this is diced plum tomatoes. And with plum tomatoes and a salad like tabbouleh, you don't want it to be wet, so you need to kind of squeeze the seeds and the liquid out of that before you chop them.
Good tip.
These are diced cucumbers, 2 cups. I use these cute little guys.
The little guys.
Because they're so easy to use in salads. They come in a pack of 5 or 6.
Look at the color in this already. That is gorgeous.
And then minced red onion.
Right.
Okay, and then the next ingredient is something you would never find in tabbouleh, but I put it in because it adds a little extra zip and tastes so good. And this is for you to identify.
Okay, am I eating just a piece of it?
Yeah, oh, you'll know when you eat it.
It's radish.
It is. Yeah. Finely minced radish just gives this salad a little bit more zip.
Yep.
And then the other key ingredient to tabbouleh is the herbs. As I mentioned, basically it is an herb salad.
Yep.
So I am doing loads of chopped fresh mint here, which I'll throw in.
Okay.
This is great if you're growing herbs in your garden this summer. If you have tons of mint, because mint kind of just grows crazily, you can make this salad with it. And I'll use mint in a lot of recipes. And this is the chopped fresh parsley.
Can you put that in a processor? Like, will it?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
No,
okay.
you always want to chop fresh herbs with a knife. A food processor blade is so sharp it can actually sort of bruise the leaves.
Okay.
This is curly parsley. You can buy flat leaf parsley.
Oh, how good
but
that
for tabbouleh,
looks,
curly parsley is very fluffy and light, and I like that,
Yeah.
okay? The dressing, simple. Olive oil here. You be the whisker.
Okay.
Olive oil. This is white balsamic vinegar.
Okay.
Just a little drop of maple syrup.
Delicious.
And then we've got some lemon zest, some Dijon, some garlic, a little bit of freshly squeezed lemon juice to make it super lemony.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna did I do the maple syrup
You did,
already?
yeah, you did.
Okay, I'll have a little bit more because this
Always
is Canada,
more.
right?
Always more.
So is there ever enough maple syrup?
Never.
Okay, you can pour that on and I'm just gonna squeeze some lemon on it.
Now, Greta,
And doesn't it smell good in here?
It smells so good. And after you do this one, I want to get to our other two because they are gorgeous and I can't wait to try them.
Okay.
But let me take a bite of this
this
one first.
Smells so good.
It smells delicious. I can smell the freshness
You need
of the
the
lemon.
fresh herbs in there.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Isn't it?
You got the sweet of the maple.
Yeah,
and
just
tang of
a
the
little
lemon.
bit with the tang of the radish, right? This is corn and black bean salad with mango and avocado. If you're having, let's say, a Father's Day barbecue and you're doing steak or burgers, this is the perfect accompaniment to that.
It's beautiful.
And then an Asian salad at the end with lentils. It's called sunflower crunch edamame with a sesame ginger dressing. You had a little taste of that dressing before and you were saying how much you love that. It's a little bit of hoisin, sesame oil,
so
ginger
good.
root. And what I love about these salads is you can make them all ahead, keep them in the fridge. They're great for potlucks and parties. And you always want to be that one that brings the bowl to the potluck and you go home and your bowl's empty, right?
Empty bowl.
Aren't we all competitive? It's like, did anybody take something from my bowl? And you're always watching the table. Oh, they ate my salad.
I know, this is gonna go. This one is
These are
so
three
good.
that I would highly recommend.
I know, and we were saying in a restaurant, salads are like 20 bucks and up. So
They're
you're gonna
so
save a lot of money.
expensive. And I just think the beans are something a little bit different other than the standard pasta salad. It's like move over pasta salads. These bold and beautiful bean salads are the way to go this summer.
A reminder, you should definitely get this cookbook. Plus, it's a great hostess gift if you're going to a cottage. You can find the recipes in Greta's new book, Every Salad Ever. It even has a dupe of the Costco lentil salad. That is so good. Summer is here, and that means barbecue season. But this year, your backyard cookout might look a little different. With the cost of beef soaring, that classic steak on the grill is quickly becoming a luxury. According to StatsCan, meat prices have taken a big jump since January, including sirloin, top sirloin, and rib cuts. Pork rib cuts and chicken breast prices, those have also gone up, anywhere from almost 6 to 34%. So today, we've got Jason Skrobar coming to the rescue. He has tasty, budget-friendly beef alternatives, perfect for your summer feast. Hi.
Hi.
I'm so excited to eat what you have for us. 3 choices.
I'm really excited because these are all fun and you can use these for any kind of like a party, get together, whatever. The first one, this is actually a really good swap out, generally speaking, especially if you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
This is a rotisserie chicken. You go to the grocery store on your way home from work, you pick it up, it's already cooked, everything is done for you. You just have to shred it up and throw it into your pan. And what I did was I just added some seasoning. Now, if you have a bag of taco seasoning in your pantry, use that. Or I have cumin, coriander, salt, pepper, paprika, garlic powder, chili flakes. But
You kinda made your own.
You can customize it the way you want.
Okay. Can I ask everybody to scan the QR code if they want the recipes? Because you have graciously. It's okay. It's not wrong. You just forgot about it, and it's fine.
So I know you like spice, so I add a little bit of
thank
chili
you.
flakes in there. And what we're going to do to make it even more fun is we're going to add a little bit
you're
of
gonna put the cheese in
right
now.
in here.
Okay.
And so it kind of melts and gets soft. And there
Fun.
you go.
A little bit of cheese for
missed
me.
that,
A little bit of cheese for the pan.
and then we warmed up. We bought these beautiful little soft taco shells.
You know what I like about these? These are, when you are in Mexico, these are the ones you buy from the street food vendors, and they're so good, so much flavor.
Authentic, and I have flour or corn. Which do you prefer?
I like flour.
Flour and flour. So I'm going to get you to serve it. So add a little bit.
I always put too much.
No,
Is that too much?
No, that's perfect.
Okay.
And then do you like avocado?
Yeah, I do.
I'm going to put a little bit of homemade avocado crema on there.
Okay.
And this is just sour cream or yogurt with a little bit of avocado and lime juice.
Good tip. I'm going to take this off the heat.
And then I'm going to add, do you like
yes, please.
Jalapenos?
Yeah.
I'm going to use my fingers.
Yep,
There you go.
totally fine.
And then we're going to eat this, and then we're going to walk over, because we have 2 more.
Okay, cheers.
We're gonna
What I like about these
cheers.
beef alternatives is that it doesn't feel like you're chincing out at all, right? People still get a flavorful, full meal.
And again, this one is so easy because it's, like I said, it's a rotisserie chicken.
that's
So it's
good.
already cooked. You don't have to do anything when you get home except throw it in the pan. And the cheese right in the pan kind of helps get it all nice and melty and beautiful.
That crema is good.
Okay, second one we have are my famous, they're not famous yet, but they will be, my famous turkey meatballs. So turkey is actually quite affordable, ground turkey. This is lean ground turkey. I added a couple things, just like with the chicken, customize this to however you like your spices. So I added a little bit of chili flakes and some garlic powder, some onion powder. But honestly, look into your pantry, see what's calling your name that night, add it to the mix. You roll them. What I did was I pan fried them on a cast iron pan, and then I finished them in the oven.
Okay.
So get some browning on the stovetop, throw them in the oven to finish.
I'm always nervous with meatballs and the cooking all the way through. So you meat thermometer?
So see, meat thermometer if you want, but honestly, you can also touch them if they don't give that much. You're pretty much good to go. Also, crack them open, take a look. If they're not done, throw them back in the oven.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we're going to take these, and what I did was
What are they on?
I took some ricotta, so just store-bought ricotta. I added it to my food processor, a little bit of olive oil, salt, and pepper, and I whip that up, and it becomes this really luxurious base for these meatballs.
Okay, we have a minute left, so I want to make sure we get this.
I've got this beautiful hot honey. It's in my cookbook, and I know you love it, so I wanted to add it to this.
It's so good, Jason. You've brought this on before, and I love it.
The combination of the honey and the like smooth ricotta, it's a delight.
Can I try some of the delight?
Please try that, and then I'm going to talk about...
Can I swap? While you do that, I'll do this. Okay.
I'm going to talk about these because I think veggie burgers get a bad rap a lot of times. But these, I know, right? But these are actually really good and again, really simple. I used sweet potato and zucchini, and then I added a little bit of panko. And then again, like with everything else here, I've spiced it up the way I like it, but you feel free to add whatever you like when you're making them. And then I added a really simple lemon yogurt on the bottom. So yogurt, lemon zest and lemon juice, a little bit of salt and pepper. I mean, these are all things.
You're turning us all into chefs. Thanks for joining us today. There's some great conversations coming your way this week.
On Tomorrow, with summer here, it's time to head to the beach. We're going to take a look at how to have the perfect sustainable beach day here at home or abroad.
Then on Thursday, if you think Vegas is the only place to roll the dice, think again. We are heading to a few different gambling getaways that you'll want to place your bets on.
And then on Friday, we'll take a look at the latest films hitting the big screen with Rad.
Enjoy your day. Happy Canada Day, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow.